Okay, let's start going. Once I hit the road. This is my little friend and daughter, Mari. You want to introduce yourself? So, Mariasha's going to run with us today in our running commentary. We're going to do a joint gig where she actually knows the Dvar Torah pretty well herself. She could probably say it, but I don't know if she's up to it. Are you up to saying the Dvar Torah part of it? No. Not yet? Okay, so we're going to run together, and this is the way we exercise our mind, our body, and our soul at the same time. In Central Park, New York, I'm Chaim Malevsky, and this is our little guest appearance, Mariasha Esther, and we're going to go to the reservoir. Yesterday she did it twice on her bike.
No, that was not yesterday.
Oh, 2 days ago? Anyway, now we're going to do it once because it's really hot outside, and she's braving the weather. Okay, on with the story. So today, we're going to talk about the Kabbalah of Challah. Challah. You eat challah on Shabbos, and some of you probably make challah, or have made challah many times in the past. So today, the Rebbe taught, you could say revolutionary thought, a beautiful idea of the practical relevance of the details of the mitzvah of challah. What's going on with that mitzvah? And first of all, the Rebbe says, of course, the most important part of every mitzvah is the action. Just do it. And the mitzvah of challah is that when a person is making challah, they take off a portion of the dough. They use about 5 pounds of dough, and they take off a portion and dedicate it to God. And it's tzedakah, it's God's, it's not ours, it's holy, and that's a biblical commandment. It's one of the most comes back. Okay? It's one of the most ancient biblical commandments we have, and it's primarily by the Jewish women who make the challah. And okay, so we're back with the challah. So the story of the challah is the Rebbe says that you need flour and water to make challah. We all know that, but the flour isn't born flour. You don't grow flour, you grow wheat, kernels of wheat. And those kernels are hard, unbending. You can't really make challah with those kernels of wheat unless you crush them and turn them into flour. So first you crush them from hard pieces of kernel into smaller pieces, and then it takes effort to crush and crush and crush and crush until you grind them until they're really, really small, very, very fine pieces of challah, pieces of flour. And so they're so fine and they're so small that you can't really differentiate between the grains. Very difficult to differentiate between the grains. And that's flour. We mix the flour. They're so small, teeny, teeny, teeny little pieces, crushed kernels of wheat or barley or oats or rye or whatever it is. And then you take that, mix it with water, and it turns into dough. And once you have the dough, you knead the dough, put it into the oven, you bake it, and it turns into challah. And then you eat it, or bread, and you eat it, and it sustains you and it gives you life. And then you can go on and do good things with that energy. That's what? Mariasha says, and connect with God. She's got it. She's got the spirit. So now the Rebbe takes this idea of how flour is made and brings it in a very practical, relevant lesson to our day-to-day life. And he says as follows. A person sometimes, within ourselves, we have these two forces, the Yetzer Tov, our good inclination, and that which is more of a instinctive, natural, animalistic inclination. And sometimes that's hard, like a kernel where it doesn't want to bend. We just want to do things that are not necessarily godly. Says the Rebbe, the first thing we need to do is crush it in order to bring life into our life, real life. We need to crush that unbending hard kernel of our ego, of our character traits that are ungodly. And we need to crush it into little pieces, and then crush it further and further and further until it becomes like dust. And in the Abraham, text about Abraham, it says, "V'nafshika afar lakolti." Abraham said that my soul is like dust. And what is this dust? This is humility. And the humility, says the Rebbe, begins right in the morning. When we wake up in the morning, this is the first big crush, is the Modeh Ani. When we say, hey, God, thank you for returning my soul to me. And when you're saying Modeh Ani, did you say Modeh Ani today? Yeah. When we say the Modeh Ani while we're still in our bed, when we say, thank you, God, for returning my soul, you're already surrendering your whole self to God, and you're saying, hey, I'm here because of you. That's one big crush. And then throughout the day, whenever we want to do, the Rebbe says, with one grain of flour, you can't make challah. You need a lot of grains of flour to come together. So throughout the day and throughout our lives, every time we have an opportunity to overcome our inclination, and if someone to push uphill, like right now, to overcome our regular natural inclinations, that's another grain of flour. It's another grain of dust. And the mountain of dust, the many times that we demonstrate and create our humility towards God, that becomes a good bulk of flour that we could use. Then we add water. What is the nature of water, says the Rebbe? The nature of water is that water naturally flows from a high place to a low place. Always is looking for the lowest place. How far can I go down? And the Rebbe says that symbolizes in our life that we always want to help somebody who needs our help. Anybody who can benefit from our assistance, we should always want to help them. We should always try to help them. Like water is always water's not trying to climb mountains, says the Rebbe, not trying to show off, not trying to scale great heights. Water just wants to find somebody below it whom it can help. And that's our job. And that's the water that brings all those pieces of flour together, and then creates the dough. Then you put it into the oven. In the oven, says the Rebbe, he quoted a pasuk in the Torah that the Alter Rebbe explained in a very fascinating way. It says, "Va'afu eser nashim v'lach lechem b'tanur echad." The 10 women will bake their bread in one oven. And it seems like it's a curse in the Torah, in the area of the rebuke, where God says, you should listen to my ways, otherwise, God forbid, blah, blah, blah. And the Alter Rebbe, first Chabad Rebbe, explains, and the Rebbe quoted it, that this means that the 10 characteristics of our soul, the 10 powers of our soul, will come together and will be baked. Careful. Watch that. And will be baked in tanur, in the oven, in the warmth, in the heat of Echad, of the one, the God, which means to say it'll be warmed by the warmth of God, of the one God. Anyway, that's the story of Challah. So we take a hard kernel, we crush it into many pieces of little flour. It becomes flour, and so too in ourselves. Every time we overcome an instinct of temptation and we surrender to God, we create more and more of that flour. Mix it with dough, with water, mix it with dough. Mix it with water so it becomes dough. And the water is our willingness and desire, to help another person who's below us. And that's sustaining, life-sustaining bread forever and ever. Because there will always be someone whom you can help. And that's what the Rebbe ends off with. Like sometimes when the binding ingredient is limited, that which binds people or things, if the binder goes away, then the people or the things are not connected anymore. Like if people come together for a meeting or for a task, you know, when the task is done or when the mission is done, just come a little faster. You can do it. Sitting, Bula. Go. And the mission is done, then there's no reason to stay together. But in this mission, there's always going to be somebody, like the water finds the lowest place to go. There's always somebody who can use your help. God bless you. Have a good Shabbos. And here's my ash. And here we are in Central Park at the tennis courts. And we're going to say goodbye. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you. My little guest appearance. Take care.